4 hours later, after rescuing that calf, I'm finally out exploring. My initial plan was to fly my drone, kind of get a lay of the land, see what might draw my attention to it. But since my drone is broken, plan B is wander around. So I'm gonna get moving. Even though I've never been here before, I know a little bit about the people who once settled here. This place was thought to be on the edge of two worlds. One world is believed to have isolated themselves, where they exhibited very little trade with the outside world. And though these people were a part of that world, they were a little less conservative. Being on the boundary meant that they were more susceptible to outside influence. And from what I know, the things that they left behind speak to this. Hopefully today we'll have a little bit better luck and find some of those things. So there's that band of rocks out there. That's about 1.5 miles away that I could go check out. So off in the southwest, about 1 mile, there's another band of cliffs that way. I know those cliffs over there to the left looked appealing, but something's leading me to the right. Right off the bat, though, here's some historic evidence. It looks like, oh, I thought it was someone's underwear, but looks like just a shirt. Kind of looks bloody. It's a bloody pillowcase. Interesting. I hope that's not an omen. I did my good deed for the day, so I feel like the universe is gonna watch out for me. So I found this marble-looking rock. These marbles, if you were to break them open, they have layers that make the inside look like an eye. And you'll see them embedded in larger slabs of sandstone. There's a place called Ojito Wilderness that I've hiked in a lot. And it's called Ojito Wilderness because Ojito means eye. So it looks like there's eyes in the sandstone watching you. Looks like I could probably get around actually at the head of it here. All right, so I found an arrow, but it's not the arrow that I'm looking for. Whoa, there's the first sign. Corrugated grayware. So there's the first piece. It always feels like when you find that first piece, it kind of breaks everything loose and you start to find more and more and more. So hopefully that's the case. I could see from here that the end of this canyon ends in an alcove. So this alcove means that there's probably a higher chance that there could be a ruin in there. Max, you are filthy, boy. Earlier when I was talking to that rancher and she saw where I was hiking through, she said, "You're just out here alone?" I said, "Yeah, I know. Wouldn't make my mom very happy." And she said, "You don't even have a gun?" And I said, "No." She says, "There's mountain lions all through these arroyos." And for some reason right now, maybe I'm being paranoid, but my brain conjured up the feeling of a mountain lion being close, but I think I'm just being paranoid. I'm gonna start checking some of these canyon walls here, see if there's any pictographs or petroglyphs. Oh, whoa. These are pretty cool. Not close enough to see the detail yet, but from here they look really cool. These slash marks almost represent arrows, but if you look at them, they're not all in one direction. There's some going left and some going right, so they're opposing each other at times. If you look in the far corner, it kind of comes out of the crack of the cliff. I think of all the origin stories of the ancient people, how they came from the earth and came up to this world. And when I see these procession-looking panels that connect to that crack, I almost wonder if it's a story of migration, an origin story of them coming from the earth. And with this one, it seems like the arrows, in a sense, are going left and going right. It's almost like they're coming and going. And then in this one certain spot where they seem to intersect or collide, there are these two circles that are connected. What do those represent? To know the answer would be to spoil it. It's almost like the lyrics of a song where artists don't really tell you what they mean. It's whatever it means to you. And so that's how I interpret these sometimes, even though they probably have a specific meaning that is now lost to us, to me. There are probably people alive today who have kept these stories alive and probably know what these represent. Here's the ojitos. See the eyes. Bone of some sort. I think I'm gonna exit the canyon from here. There's a way up and out. You crazy loon. So this is the top of the alcove, walking over to what would be the waterfall. I don't know if you could see it with this camera, but there's this point of rock out there. It's kind of shaped like a house. There's two of them. There's this one here, right below the sun. And then over here, there's another one. I want to hike out and check them out. I don't know that I have enough time. Whoa. All right. That's a ruin. It's old. It's not ancient, but let's check it out. Huh. Barrel. Looks like here's a room. It's part way dug into the side of the mountain. Falling in. Never seen this style before, where there's wood and not just adobe, but rocks inside. It's a new one to me. This area, there were old Spanish sheep herders through here. And before them, the Navajo were in this area. And when the Spanish brought sheep, the Navajo started raising sheep as well out here. They also raised goats. I was talking to the rancher who owned the neighboring ranch to where I rescued that calf. And he told me that the Navajos raised these goats. I think he said they were mohair goats. And he gave a different name for them, but I can't remember. He said that they used to use that wool or the hair from the goats to make parkas for the military, for some of the soldiers who fought in World War II. And I wonder, are these structures, this house here, was this one of the sheep herders or ranchers who homesteaded out here? Is this 1940s, 1920s? My guess it's even older than that. Looks like here's a core where they drilled to get a tree ring date. Lake Wells Cooperative. Florida citrus. You could see that was probably the edge of one of the walls. And the rest of the structure, their dwelling, was on this backside here. I'm guessing whoever built this structure chose this spot so they could source the stones from this ruin. It reminds me of the fate of the great house known as Kentil. Kentil means White House in Dene. The stones of Kentil were used to make the Wide Ruins trading post in the 1800s. At some point in the 1980s, it caught fire and burned down, and there's nothing left of the trading post. Kentil in the 1800s had walls still 2 stories tall, and today they barely stick up out of the sand. I'm sure there's a lesson there. What that is, I don't know exactly, but time eventually takes it all back. Notice the paintings on the inside of this. All this gray or whiteware. All the paintings on the inside so far. Again, it's always on the inside of the pot. That's porcelain. That was a plate. This never fails to happen to me. I do my main searching through the day and hardly find anything, and it seems like the last hour before the day is over, I stumble across some of the best stuff. I'm glad I'm planning on staying the night and spending one more day. There's some really old bone. That's bone as well. Huh. There's no doubt that this place has been dug up before. And I don't know what to think of that. Part of me wants to bury it, to put it to rest, back to rest, but there's just some texture about the bone. I've seen so many animal bones out here in the desert. This one was more fiber. I just have this gut instinct that the bones were dug up and they need to be put back into the ground. But I don't think I'm gonna do that. With that said, if anyone knows, maybe could put my mind at ease and tell me what sort of animal that was. I'd like that better. It seems that they had built their dwellings on top of all of these hills out here. Gave them a good view of their surroundings. What'd you find, Max? What are you obsessed with? Come here. Max, what do you see? Come on, let's go. Got about 10 minutes until the sun sinks, and I got, a mile in my truck. I feel like I got extremely lucky to just show up here and wander out into the middle of nowhere and come across, one, that rock house, and then two, the fact that it was on some old ruins. I guess I did have good karma from rescuing that calf today. It ended up being a really great day, and I'm excited to see what else I find tomorrow. Everything's kind of frozen out here this morning. Frozen espresso makes it pretty easy for camping in the wintertime. Pretty good. Yeah, it gives you tons of energy. Anyone know that quote? No? Sandlot? It's one of my favorite movies. So I got some beets, some sweet potatoes, some rice, and some almonds. Kind of sound like a hippie. All right, let's see how we did here. Looking good. Man, I miss my sunglasses. It's good for rabbit food. Right now I'm trying to shoot the sunrise over here. That's the area I'm gonna try and get to today, about a mile out. All right, so I'm off. It's about 7:30 and I'm gonna head directly southwest. Wow, it looks like it's quite a substantial overhang there. Well, not archaic. 51. It's the older one. 46. BH 1921. There's the 1881. Wow. 1881, I wonder if that belongs to the guy who built the rock house up there. Walter Shipman. Walter Shipman. 1881, before this place was even part of the U.S. It's outlines of sandals, like yucca sandals. I'm wondering if those are old or if it's these modern people mimicking what they've seen in the canyon and carving in yucca sandals. They all appear to be the left foot, so I don't know, maybe there's something else. What do you think? I like to think that if I'm drawn to those rock formations, that people, as far as time goes back, were drawn to those rock formations. Well, that's a pretty big canyon between me and those rock formations. But I think I have enough time to work my way around it. It appears he has changed into his warmer weather gear. These are the spots that I could sit in all day, taking the view that they took in. Unfortunately, I could hear way off in the distance a fracking well at work. I think the question I ask is, why here? Why in this ancient place where there's such a human record going back far in time and it's at risk? But I guess that's where the oil is, right? It's where the natural gas is. I wish there was a way to protect it. It's such a complicated knot to untangle. The grind holes are up there, right on the edge. It's so sandy down here though. The rock is really crumbly. Seems like anything up here wouldn't really last. Well, nothing here. I think I'm gonna go back up and follow the canyon rim to our destination. That's where I was standing, where I saw the first grind holes. And exactly south of it here are more grind holes. I'm noticing that these spots, they have a great view. They also have access down to the canyon below. So they're points of travel, but they're also points of escape where you could see if there was any approaching enemy, anyone who wanted your stuff. You could either duck down into this crack and head off through the canyon system, or head up onto the mesa and escape out that way. There's a handful of cliff dwellings in this over 1,000 square mile area, so the chances of me finding one are probably really rare. But it also makes me wonder why they didn't build them out here. Did they prefer areas where they had a great view, but also had multiple escape routes? And where a cliff dwelling, you're kind of up in a corner and limited to where you can escape from. I keep looking down off this canyon rim, trying to pay attention to the cliffs to see if I see any sort of ruins or petroglyphs down there, but seeing falls like this everywhere, it makes me realize how soft and crumbly this stone is. So one, they may have been afraid to build any sort of substantial living area when there was the risk of collapse. Or maybe they did, but it's just eroded over the years, and maybe falls and collapses have erased them. Well, before even getting up to the top, potsherds all around me. So this filleted rim, this is what's iconic out here. It's what this area is known for. Isn't unique to the entire Southwest, but it's rare in a lot of places. But out here, you can find it everywhere. Some more coiled pottery, indented with probably yucca spines. I haven't even made it on top yet. Kind of got sidetracked with all this pottery on the ground. And I gotta watch where I step because I don't want to step on any of these potsherds. Wow. Look at that. How cool is that? See the paint on the top, paint on the rim. That's one of the coolest I've found. And you can get context and kind of see where it fit into the rest of the pot. That's so cool finding that piece. First I thought it was a cylinder jar, like the mugs that have been found out at Chaco. but then I saw that curve at the bottom where I realized it was just the top narrow neck of maybe a larger pot. I got excited when I thought it was a cylinder jar because those are so iconic, but still it's one of the coolest pot sherds that I've ever found. Now there's these coil pots without the indentations. Makes me wonder what the different style choices are. Probably certain people with different traditions that they carry with them. Probably the handle. First I was hoping maybe it was an effigy jar, but it's probably just a handle that got broke off. It's maybe a 30-06 mixed in with this pottery here. Now this is a story for another time. Up north, there's a type of people who lived in isolation, and I want to do an episode about them, but the story is so big that I've been working on it for over a year. And this place is part of that world. It's on the fringe or the edge of it. They were a part of the same people, but in this area, not only did they have that isolated pottery, they did find remnants of outside pottery. So what makes this place different is there is some trade going on. There's pottery that's from an outside source. And that was my hopes today of coming out here and trying to find it. Now, there's a fillet rim pot there with a drill mark on it. It looks like there's a good portion of a pot here. There's a rim of this one. There's this handle. Another rim. I wonder if this is the designs on the outside. Oh, wow. There are designs on the inside. There's even this reddish brown piece with triangles on it. I don't know if that's native to here either. It does remind me of this misfired red vessel that was found north of here. From what I understand now, I'm no expert, but misfiring is something that happens when there's too much oxygen and the iron in the clay turns red or brown. So this was intentionally going to be a white jar, but it turned red through misfiring. I could see a very impressive piece from here. It's black on red ware. And from what I know, it's not native to here, so it's been traded. Pretty big grindstone mono here. I was wondering if this was like a refuse area, but now that I see this mono here, start to wonder if maybe they lived here. Now, a mono doesn't necessarily mean that they built their home here. They could have just came here to do their grinding because it has a good view of the area. All the questions that I don't have answers to. I could just keep looking for hours, but I want to get on top there and see what else is up there. This is no doubt a collection. First I thought this was maybe where a pot was broken, but it seems like someone has gathered these, and fortunately they didn't take them. But unfortunately, they're not inconspicuous. They draw a lot of attention. And I'm half tempted to bury them, but I won't. See, when I see this, those little triangles remind me of the indentation that's made with yucca spines. So I wonder if that's their way of honoring the past. The longer I stare at it now, you can see the remnants of the wall here, the left, and then here, and then kind of goes away over here. So I don't know if this was once a tower that time has finally taken away, or if this was more of a hunting blind or just a lookout point, or was this the place where they retired their pots, where they walked up this precipice and shattered them. That thing's massive. Oh. Cow. Wow. What do those designs mean? That piece, that's a piece to end it on. I got about a 2 or 3 mile hike back, and I only visited one of these mounds out here. I could see 4 of them, but I'm out of time. So it goes, I guess. I was kind of reflecting on my last 3 days, and I feel fortunate to experience what I did, to come across that calf and be able to rescue it. There's no doubt that a couple more days he would have passed on, but it all worked out. And then today I've come across so many ancient pieces of the past. I've been able to kind of walk in their footsteps and take in remnants of their life and escape into their world. I think of all those who have traveled through this land, from the ancestral Pueblo and then to the Navajo who have made this place their home, to the Spanish who ran sheep through this land, and then to the cowboys who homesteaded this land. It's a very deep and diverse history, and walking through it, you can't help but be affected by it. I think that's why I come out here, is to escape my life and enter into someone else's. Even though I can't quite grasp what their life was like, I can get remnants of it and recharge that part of me that I need to navigate my way through the modern world.